In today's vlog, it's kind of like a speed paint, speed crafting kind of video where I'm going to do another story time kind of thing. In the last story time I uploaded, it was about accessibility at markets. And I ended up painting the Adeline Jackals from the Gene Stealer Colts. In this video, I am taking all of these chakra stones that you've seen me making with resin over the last month or so. And today, in this video, I am using acrylic paint to fill in all of the engraved parts. And then at the very end, I'm putting on the magnets to make these into magnets. I had just enough magnets to make every set except for 2 sets. So there are 2 sets that have not come to markets yet, but already at markets, the black set has sold the most. I have them on my table for $3 each or 4 for $10 at markets. Eventually they will be up on the website. I just have to get some product photos and things like that, and also got to keep them on the shelf long enough to take photos. In this vlog, my story time is going to be about one of the times that I was denied accessible parking at a venue. I talked about getting accommodations and kind of what the organizer's role as to providing reasonable accommodations at a market are for. And one of the very reasonable accommodations, at least that I think, is allowing your disabled vendors to park closer to the event instead of saying, well, what about your customers, to your disabled vendors. I have a permanent disability tag for my car. I am allowed to park in any accessible spots. Because I do have a ramp in my car, I do have to park where there is a landing zone. And if you're not sure what a landing zone is, those lines, like that spot right next to an accessible spot that says do not park here, with all those lines, that is the landing zone. That is specifically meant for people like me to get out of their car, because my ramp extends about 6 feet out. So back a couple of years ago, I believe it was last year, I was at a brewery. And last year I went to a bunch of breweries. That was kind of like the main space I did my pop-ups. And, you know, I asked for the accommodation to load in my stuff and have help. And they had a table provided for me. It all worked out. Well, the night before the event, the market organizer emails me and says, hey, I need you to park in the back of the lot where there is no accessible parking. And I responded, if I do that, I need a guarantee nobody's going to park on my passenger side because my ramp has to come out. And, you know, she said, yeah, of course, we'll put cones out or something, you know, and I was like, okay, that we'll handle that. And she said it was to make it easier for her to load my stuff in to the venue. And I didn't think much of it because I was like, oh, maybe she's having like a bad pain day or something. Either way. And then I get to the venue, I park in the back, there's absolutely no accessible parking, there's nowhere for me to even kind of fudge it to park like either on a double line, because I did park on a double line, which if you do have a disability pass, you are, if there is no accessible parking, allowed to park diagonally and take up 2 spots. That is what you are supposed to do if you need that space to get in and out of your car. You will not get a ticket, and if you do, you can fight that because it's part of the driving manual, at least in Minnesota. And I didn't really know my rights as a disabled person. I didn't really know kind of what you really can and can't do until I looked it up afterward. And I parked in the back, and we loaded in through the back, and I noted that the walk from where I had parked was the exact same distance either way, if I would have parked in the back or up in the front in the accessible spots. And she used it as a way of saying, well, our disabled vendors, not our disabled vendors, our disabled customers need a space to park, and you're taking away from them. Do not ever, as a vendor, accept someone telling you you're taking up the space that you legally are, get. As a disabled person, that's the spot I have to take. I don't have a choice because people park next to me. And that's what exactly happened. I vended inside the whole day. The whole venue was not accessible. Tables were put right next to each other. People literally had to climb over each other, to get around each other. There was a very older lady who was very fragile, could barely walk, and she was put in the middle of it all, and she almost tripped over me many times. I brought it up to the organizer about accessibility, and then when we went out to my car to load in my car, somebody had parked on the right because there were no cones or anything put in the spot next to my car saying don't park there. And unfortunately, people do not read the car next to them where it says don't park within 8 feet of this car because my ramp has to come out. So after the event, we're loading in my car. I'm like, oh, I cannot get in my own car. And the organizer said, well, why can't I just back up your car? I'll back it up real quick. And I was like, well, I have hand controls. I have zero effort steering. I have all of these accommodations within my car. And I asked, I was like, are you trained? Have you done the 30 hours of training with hand controls to fully know how to do it? And she looked at me, she's like, no, but it can't be that hard. So my next question was, which way do you do for the brake? Do you push or pull? She's like, oh, I don't know, but it can't be that hard. That is a giant red flag of a venue you don't want to be with. If they are denying you your legal right to park in the spot, if they are telling you that they're going to drive your car and not listening to what you say, I specifically asked her to go inside and make an overhead announcement to say, if your car is this car, you need to move it. She said she did not feel comfortable asking someone to move their car, and why couldn't I just be reasonable and allow her to back up my car? If you push the gas too fast, she would have ran into the pole or into the fence or whatever was in front of it. Hand controls are very, very delicate within a car. I have zero effort steering as well, so if you turn the wheel, it's gonna turn. So there was all of that in that. I ended up messaging her afterward and have never been on a show with her again. Eventually, she moved away from that brewery, and I hope that, from that conversation that we tried to have, a couple months after the event, that she could really think about and reflect on that, because even if I don't go back to shows with her, I don't want another disabled person to have to go through that. And so I tell this as a way of saying, know your rights, know what you can and can't do, but as a market organizer, you should never tell your vendors who are disabled they cannot park in the most accessible spot for them. Okay, for some of us, we can walk a little bit further. Some of us cannot. And it really depends on the ability of that specific day of what I can and can't do. Sometimes I can park further and it's not that big of a deal. And sometimes I need to be right outside the front door. And because of that, I make sure when I am applying to venues to say, I need a close-up accessible parking spot. I need these accommodations. If they are not willing to provide them, like I said in the last video about this, they are not worth it. Find a different organizer. Find the space where people are actually being accessible and accommodating, and then your customers will find you. Because if it's not accessible for you as a vendor, it's not accessible to your disabled customers either. So, try to find what you can. I know it's super, super hard to find accessible things because accessibility is so different for each and every one of us. But kind of knowing what you need as a disabled vendor will kind of get you a long way. And knowing really simple your simple rights, your very basic rights that we still have right now. And understanding that as a disabled vendor, sometimes accommodations will have to be made. And it's okay. You know, if one disabled vendor parks closer, that's not taking spots from people who can walk further. That's taking spots from people who, you know, just want to be like that and just kind of want to be uppity. There are always plenty of accessible parking wherever I go. And if I take a single spot or I take the closest street spot, it's really not that big of a deal for customers. And not a single customer has ever complained that the accessible spots were taken because a vendor parked there. So, once again, make sure you know what you need as a vendor, as a disabled vendor, and what you have the right to. You don't have to move your car, no matter what the organizer says.